across different partners in the CIVIS Alliance. So that doesn't come without its challenges, and so we've been really pleased to see so many projects supported by the Open Lab funds, particularly over the last couple of years. And so this session is really spotlighting 3 of those projects, but also giving a little bit of context around some of the sort of bigger issues, I guess, in the kind of civic engagement, public engagement space. So I think we will just, so our speakers down the front here, we will come to when we get to the actual projects that we're going to highlight, but I think it would be good just to sort of kick off with a little bit of an introduction to everyone. So have you got a mic? Has one of you got a microphone? Yeah. So Daniele, do you want to go first, and we'll come this way?
Hi, I'm Daniele Gorla from Sapienza University of Rome.
Hi, I'm Daniel Buhr with the University of Tübingen.
I'm Johanna Berglund. I work at the city of Stockholm, the municipality, but I'm here with the University of Stockholm.
Hello everyone, I'm Michel from the University of Lausanne.
Hello everyone, my name is Wasfi Al Nassef from the Jesuit Refugee Service in Romania.
Brilliant. And my name's Ken Skeldon. I work at the University of Glasgow, and I lead the CIVIS Open Lab there. But I've also got another role in European Networks, which is president of the European Science Engagement Association, which is a network across Europe that's been going for about 25 years, comprising universities, funders, NGOs, science centres, festivals, a whole mix of different actors. And they're very interested in civic engagement too. So I want to try and bring in some of that external landscape as well, and then, you know, contextualize the work that CIVIS has been doing in the Open Lab space. So, a reminder of who we all are. It's almost an obligatory first slide. So a really rich and diverse mix of expertise and experience there, which really I think the Open Labs have capitalized on. And this lovely graphic from Christelle here kind of sort of is a picture of, I guess, you know, what the Open Labs are trying to do. CIVIS is trying to do more generally, but the Open Labs in particular are trying to bring the academy, if you want to call it by that name, together with wider society and build those bridges around how to do that. And they can take many, many forms. And that's why the Open Labs, in fact, are so different. The projects that have been supported from the Open Lab funds are all very distinct. Why does any of this matter? So everyone will have their different views on this. I've just got a few points up there from my own kind of take on this, and you know, having worked in different engagement settings over the years. And I think the first point there is that the academic world does obviously contain a body of experience and expertise, but there are other types of experience and expertise. And often they sit with communities, with cultures that have everyday lived experience of particular settings or a particular condition, a set of circumstances. And so by bringing them into the mix, particularly in research, but also in education and learning and all the other things that universities do, you get a much richer collaborative outcome. So that would be the first thing that I would say. I think there is something at the moment around building trust in universities, building trust in research and innovation. It's fair to say that over the years, all the surveys that have been done in this space pretty much show a plateau of trust in science and trust in research. And that's pretty high. You know, there's cause for positivity there. But that's not to say that this isn't important work, because you never know what that trend is going to do were it not for all the civic engagement that we all do. And also there's a shift in context. I mean, it's definitely the case that the rise of misinformation, You know, the kind of role of politics blending into the scientific process and the evidence-based approach is now very much more stark than it was even 5 years ago. So there's a job of work there that I think civic engagement plays a really important role in. Then there's this piece about community challenges presenting a very rich context for whether it's students or researchers to get involved with, because community challenges begin with people's own everyday life issues. So that's a really exciting space, I think, for CIVIS to have an impact in. And then lastly there, that kind of participatory approach addressing those larger societal challenges, and there's a big emphasis now with funders on that kind of participatory approach. So a few points there, food for thought. Now, it is true that Europe has a very active public engagement with the research sector, and that's been evolving for many, many years. And just a few weeks ago, the organisation that I preside over, the European Science Engagement Association, had its conference in Luxembourg. So we had 200 people there. And you know, from all sorts of different areas of engagement. And it was a really positive environment, actually. And that's not to say that people didn't feel vulnerable, didn't feel there were challenges, but actually it was quite clear by bringing people together and sharing that there's a huge potential for that community to have a role in what universities do, but also what's going on in wider society. And CIVIS presented there, and so that's a photograph. The 25 is because UC's 25 years old, but Robin, Christelle, Marijke from Tübingen, and myself were involved in the workshop, which was, you know, very well received, really important. And it's important to showcase CIVIS at these sorts of things. I think that's one of the other things to highlight there. We often talk among ourselves, quite rightly, because we want to share what's going on. But actually, I think there's a lot that CIVIS has to say to that wider community. And it's through these sorts of events that involve much bigger range of actors that I think that can be done. So, the message is pretty clear in a way. Universities obviously play this critical role in civic engagement with the communities on their doorsteps, as well as wider society. But, you know, we are living in times of challenge, there's no doubt about it, including ever more complicated political influences. You see that all around. And I think the Open Labs provide that structure to facilitate engagement, but also to elevate it from what many of us maybe do, which is work with our local communities and audiences to try and think how might that work at a larger scale and across borders, which is really what we're talking about here, the transnational element of this, which is really important. Just a few sort of testimonials from some of the colleagues across CIVIS who have been involved in Open Lab projects. So, you know, I won't read these out. You can see them, but I mean, they're all quite personal. You know, people have different takeaways, and I would actually highlight. We'll do it at the end as well. But there's a portrait exhibition out there with, I think, 10. Is it, Crystal? 10 portraits of impact, where different people from different universities have spoken very personally about what being involved in the Open Labs has meant for them. So I would encourage you to have a look at that at the top of the stairs at the end. There's a few more. And I think what's nice about the way that we've constructed this session is that we'll hear in the room now from 3 Open Lab projects where these sorts of stories will come to life, allow us to delve in a bit more detail about what has been going on with the Open Lab project funding. And there are 29 of these projects that have been funded. Every CIVIS partner, every beneficiary had an Open Lab grant, essentially, a pot of money, to invest into these projects with a strong encouragement to work together. So have at least 3 partners involved. And you can see there a few of the stats. You know, a third of them were with our African partners, and 70% almost with the student populations across the partnership. So, so a really positive journey, actually, that the Open Labs have been on. And this lovely mosaic, I can't take any credit for this. I think this was this you, Christel, that put this together? So trawling the archive of imagery and putting together this lovely mosaic of from all the different projects, showing, you know, the different communities that have been involved, what it means to them. I love that. I think it's a really nice visual, you know, sort of illustration of what the Open Labs have been doing. Okay, so how the balance of this session is going to work is that we've got 3 short presentations now from 3 Open Lab projects, and we'll keep those to 5-ish minutes, if that's okay. I know it's quite a challenge because you've got so much to say. And we'll do those in succession, and then at the end of that, we'll open it up for a discussion. So while you've been listening to me waffle on, and while you listen to our far more interesting speakers here, store up some thoughts and some questions that you might want to ask in the roundtable about the projects, about civic engagement, about your thoughts for how important it is. And then we'll finish off with just a little sort of reflection, conclusion before we finish promptly to allow everyone to go to coffee on time. So, I think first up it will be the Veris project. So, Daniele, would you like to, who is it that's, no, it's you, oh, sorry, Patrick, you've got your microphone. So, Christel is going to keep time, and we've got 5 minutes-ish, is that okay? You can stand, you can sit, it's up to you.
So I'm going to stand. Can I use this?
Oh, yes.
Thank you. Oh, no, down, sorry. Okay, here we are. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. So briefly, what is the origin of this project, Open Lab, and the objective? So I will not go into details, but basically the idea of this project is to try to keep and transfer the cultural memory of the site of Palmyra because of the destruction that happened there. And it happened that the University of Lausanne has a beautiful archaeological archive, and we were able to recreate a digital twin of one of the temples that has been destroyed. But the idea was how we could transmit this memory and this heritage and keep this heritage through generation, and especially working with Syrian refugees in countries close to Syria, which is especially Lebanon and Jordan. So I began at the University of Lausanne on this project, working especially in refugee camps in Jordan and Lebanon, and then also in Switzerland, and then with IDPs in Syria. But I really wanted to be able to have target groups and working with refugees within Europe, and that was the opportunity offered together with the collaboration within the CIVIS Alliance with the University of Bucharest, thank you so much, Johanna, and the University of Glasgow. So I needed to build like interdisciplinary team in order to better understand the consequences and the meaning of our actions. So I had field experience in the Near East, but then I wanted to compare it with the situation of Syrian refugees in Europe. And I'm an archaeologist and historian myself, and I'm not expert in anthropology or sociology or philosophy, and that's the reason why we partner with the UNESCO chair and my colleagues from philosophy, sociology, and anthropology between Bucharest and Glasgow. So we have created several deliverables for this project. video podcast, but we also published an album and a toolkit together with the other universities, and we have created several modules that could be replicated working with Syrian refugees. So we have, you see here, several modules about storytelling and oral history, crafts and traditional skills, and I invite you all here to go up then to see the first exhibition with the portrait, but there is also an exhibition about embroidery that we have used in this project, and you can go on the first floor. We have also a toolkit, in the toolkit another module speaking about seasonal tradition, emotional processing, etc. and so forth. So we really try to offer tools in order other people to work with refugees for the transmission of the cultural memory. So here you see what we have done. We have one album speaking about the methodology and presenting the results, a workshop that we had together with JRS, and we are going to work more together with JRS, a podcast, and the small art exhibition that is on the first floor here. And that's it. Thank you very much.
It's over so very quickly, isn't it? Thanks very much, Patrick. You mentioned something there which I think is really important, which I didn't mention in the intro, which is this idea of interdisciplinarity too, which threads into these projects, and that particularly amplifies when you're working across the different partners. So, Johanna, you're up next. Or is it?
It's a two of us. Yeah, we are so shy. It's the two of us. Yeah, it's Johanna and me, Daniel, and we try to present another Open Lab project, which we conducted. Oh, where is this machine? Here, the stick. And actually, it's one of those topics we were tackling that demonstrates in a wonderful way that there is diversity within unity, you know, because we are dealing with the fact of aging, and we know it on an individual level. It's there, it's out there. And of course, it's another European challenge because it's one of those grand challenges when it comes to society. So aging societies are definitely one of those grand challenges. We hear and talk a lot about it. So this is why we took that challenge on and try to tackle the challenge of aging societies and try to find some solutions by using the method of design thinking. There's a noise. That's me. Okay. Yeah, and this is what we did, actually. So who's we? So this is the picture. We started all up with a design thinking workshop in wonderful Stockholm. And we were hosted by the greatest facilitator and trainer we could wish for, Emma Blomqvist, with the Open Lab there. So she taught us the message, the instrument and the method in a 2-day workshop in February. And then we followed the double diamond, right? So we tried to dig into user-centered, user-driven design and innovation processes involving all kind of users, being end users, but also being civil society and public service, like Johanna, for instance, the city, public administration, and a whole variety of scientists and researchers with different backgrounds, but also members and participants from civil service association and NGOs, and coming from Lausanne, coming from Stockholm, coming from Salzburg, coming from Bucharest, of course, and also from Tübingen. This is where I'm from. And yeah, this is what we did. So it was a hybrid format. We met, and that was so important that we had the chance to get and gather in Stockholm to, yeah, develop a level of trust, as you just said, because we were all strangers, right, talking about those topics. So it was very important. And then we followed within our local teams in Stockholm, in Tübingen, in Lausanne, and somewhere else, in our local teams. And then we met on a regular basis within the course of the project. And it was not just a wonderful facilitator with Emma, but we also had a great artist, I would say, who, yeah, ensured that we didn't have to write a protocol, because she would stick with us all all day long, and she made those wonderful sketches, and her name is Nikki Schmidt, and you know what she did.
So we had this visual scriber with us, which documented every step of the way when we met in Stockholm, but also during our digital workshops. So this is from our first meeting when we did started to define our challenges and then also plan for our empathy phase. And we defined our how might we questions. So I'll just introduce you very shortly to the challenge we had in Stockholm. I work for the municipality, the city of Stockholm. Our challenge was how to explore how parks and green spaces can help older adults, including people living with cognitive impairment, maintain health and well-being. So we had, through the empathy phase, noticed that people do not travel far from home. So our prototype at the end simply asked the question that instead of bringing people to the park, how can we bring some of the qualities of the park closer to the people? So a quick look at the Tübingen prototype.
Yeah, our challenges. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I need the mic. Our challenges was more or less of how might we support university members, being employees or students at the university, and reduce their burden of taking care of relatives or a friend that lives far away. You know, so this is a special situation, especially. In an aging society, it affects a lot of us within the universities, but also in other organizations. And the good thing is we conducted many of interviews with university members and also a lot of citizens and NGOs. And we came up with some solutions here we actually can tackle right away. So there is, I found out at the University of Tübingen, there is a team equity that is in charge supporting employees and students that have caring arrangements to fulfill. And now we do and work together with them and with other NGOs and associations within the scope of the city and county of Tübingen in order to institutionalize workshops, show and tell, inform and sensitize for the topic. Because actually, if you think of being a caregiver in this situation, it's either you wait for a call because something happened with your parents, with your partner, or you have to call someone and to coordinate. And so this is what we try, to at least reduce the burden a little bit with a variety of tasks over the next course of a month and following the year. Okay, so that's about us, and now it's Daniele, right?
Yes, thank you. And so I'm presenting you a totally different kind of approach to this open lab that together with our team in Sapienza we invented. And well, there is a story to tell to understand why we arrived to this project. And this story starts back in 5 years ago when somebody, I don't know honestly who, had the wonderful idea to create an orchestra for the CIVIS Alliance. Because if we want to have a transnational university, a very nice experience would be to have a transnational orchestra. And this materialized in 2022 in Marseille, and then we repeated in Madrid, last year in Rome, and today at 5:30 we will having another concert here. And really, this experience built a sense of community between the participants. And so my point was okay, it's very complicated to organize, and so we couldn't do more than once a year. But I always had the feeling that it is a shame that we can't make it more frequent. So when last year, in these months, this call for the Open Lab projects appeared, aiming at strengthening already existing projects that focus on strategic topics like inclusions and diversity, my point is, music is inclusion. Its language is universal. why don't we arrange a project in which we can strengthen this collaboration and export outside the walls of our respective universities and include suburban realities, people with health problems or socially weak realities. And this is the reason why we started this project. And this materialized in 3 events in the past 5 months. In January, we were in Athens, where 8 musicians from Sapienza went there. Then in April in Madrid, where 9 musicians from Sapienza and 4 from Athens went to Madrid. And in May, it was 12 musicians from Madrid that came in Rome. So this travel has produced 3 unforgettable concerts. The first one was most focused, and each of them had a specific focus. The focus of the Athens experience was on a dementia-friendly concert. So how can we make concerts to include people with health problem, and in particular with dementia, Alzheimer, or related diseases? And so we had some classes that one of our colleagues from Athens gave us to let us understand how can we make performances more inclusive and more suitable for these people. And this experience culminated on a concert that took place in a wonderful auditorium in Athens with around 400 patients and their caregivers. And this was really an amazing atmosphere, both from the people who played and for the people who was in the audience. The second concert was in Madrid, and the focus there was to bring the music in a suburban reality. In particular, we played in a nursing house that had a very nice auditorium. And again, there the focus was more on empathy-based interaction. So how to include the audience more emotionally in the performance. And this concert was with 100 patients, their caregivers, and the local residents, because it was quite far from the center of Madrid. So it was really in a suburb where almost nothing appeared culturally. And so it was really an event for them to have an international orchestra playing for them. And finally, 1 month ago in Rome, we had an unforgettable experience, really. For all the participants, this is something that will remain in our heart, because the CIVIS musicians joined with other 2 realities. Musicians coming from Jerusalem, a school of music that includes Catholics, Hebrews, and Muslims that play together. And this message was so strong, mostly in this historical period, to tell us that there is a hope, even in this dark period. Because seeing these guys playing together without bypassing diversities was really amazing. And we also included another impaired reality, musicians from a school of Scampia, that it is, for those of you that knows, this is an area close to Naples, that it is the Rhine of Camorra. And so there, this school established the Abreu method, the one that started from Venezuela to bring people outside from the road and teach them some music. And the concert was really amazing. It was with 500 people of our university and the city, and the emotion was really great. So to sum up, this experience is rooted in local realities, but the cross-border collaboration was really intensive and deep and gave really a plus for all the attendees, both for the players and for the audience. So this built a real spirit of pan-national reality like CIVIS wants to build. So really, opening new funds, I'm really hoping that these open labs will be renewed, because really this experience, in my own opinion, should be repeated and strengthened. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much for all those presentations. It's great to see the diversity of those projects. But also, as I was sitting there, I was thinking, could there be links between some of them? But maybe we'll come to that. Would anybody in the room like to ask a question or open up the conversation. Anybody feel brave enough off the bat? If not, I have a stock list of thoughts here that I will proceed with, but it would be great to get others involved. But maybe while people are kind of thinking, maybe the obvious question to start with, which is, before you went into the projects, before you kind of made your proposals into the call, you would have had some expectations about what a transnational project might look like. I'm just wondering what those expectations were and how they compared with what eventually then happened practically as the projects evolved. Does that make sense? So did things go as you expected? Were there surprises? Was it nothing like you thought? Who'd like to kick off? And anyone can come in on this one. Yeah. Okay.
I tried to start. Yeah, of course I was excited. Yeah, because I'm doing innovation for many years now, innovation studies, and so the whole concept of open innovation is very attractive to me. So I was excited, first of all, and then of course, as I already mentioned, thinking of a team that never met before, more or less. I mean, I knew one person in this workshop, and then you stick there and work on challenges with a method that is, yeah, you have to open up yourself as a character, as a person, and but this method with this design thinking was so good and served as an instrument that we. Yeah, it clicked right away. So there was a wonderful team. We had a great atmosphere, and although we haven't met before, it was great from the beginning, and it gave us structure. So that is another important thing and learning for me, that you have to be, following the track. You need the structure. You have to follow certain steps, and it's always just quick steps, quick breakout sessions, and then you come together, gather together, and then, yeah, trust can evolve in a really quick way, because usually you would say, trust evolves over years and constant learning from each other. But here, at least out of my perspective, I was impressed how quick we got up and running, yeah.
Anyone else want to come in on that? Or?
Well, maybe just that the method in itself makes you safe. It creates a safe space, sort of, to discuss things. We were at the same phase in our project, so I came and with information about the empathy phase in Stockholm, and you came with what you found out in Tübingen. So that created a common ground to stand on and to have the discussions. So I don't know if I had any special expectations, more than I was really interested in working with the method, but it turned out that you would expect there to be maybe some hustles working transnational, but with this method we experienced that there were not. It actually helped us. So we were always using the voices of the users. So I think that was interesting.
Does any other projects like to come in?
I mean, just briefly, the most important thing was for me to see how my colleagues got really involved and how we are now thinking of what's next with an open lab or without an open lab. So we will have a contract, an MOU with JRS, so the University of Lausanne will still work with JRS in Romania, and we will develop other collaboration with my colleagues here in Bucharest. So that was the most unexpected surprise, that there is something after the open lab, because we really built something together.
Daniele, do you want to?
For me, the situation was slightly different because I already worked with these partners, so I already knew them. But in a totally different setting. So this setting was new because, in Rome, I myself have already organized concerts like that. But joining the transnational aspect with this society open aspect was challenging, because I wouldn't know how this would have worked in Madrid or in Athens. So this was a great discovery of how well it did and how complementary we were, because we had 3 totally different kinds of approach to the same theme. And each of us put its own personality in implementing an idea in different shapes, but the body of the idea was that one. So that was a really very, very good. A very good experience, much more than what I would have expected, honestly.
Okay, we've got a question from the floor.
Hello, my name is Johanna Berglund. I am professor at the University of Bucharest, and I am Patrick's colleague. So the question goes for the other colleagues of our open labs. I was listening to you, and I was wondering, given the fact that the open labs provided us the opportunity to transfer the results of our teaching and research to the society, to the public, to the community, did you find any particular milestones whenever you tried to address this kind of opening? Because, for example, you have brought people of special condition to a concert. It takes many human resources and a very particular context of care and trust. Then you address the question of aging, which is very intimate and personal, but yet you have to, I don't know, dismantle a little bit the social contracts, the boundaries, the prejudgments, and to try to work with people that you don't know. And of course, being part of the university is like a green card, but it doesn't take it for granted every time. So my question would be, what kind of milestones were from the other way around when you, as a professor, go to inside the society, at the midst of society, and say, I want to help? Are people reactive? Are people perceptive? Or have you found any prejudgments in what concerns the capability of people from university to address real social questions to the public? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That's a very good question. I need to reflect on that first, but it's, I think it nailed it. Yeah, it's very good. I would say we didn't face these usual problems, which we do when we do qualitative or quantitative studies, and we call up people or we arrange interviews and all that. We know that in social sciences. Because I think the starting point was, and that's the interesting about this method, the starting point was that the user were sitting in the room next to us. So it was, for instance, Johanna, and she was there, but there were also end users there or others that actually shaped us right from the beginning to ask the right questions and said, okay, this is the challenge, not what you think, so this is our problem here we are discussing. And then you are at a different position, so you are just listening and acting and working together, and that at least helped us a lot, because you're completely right. If we come out of the ivory tower, it is not always well received, to be honest. Yeah, and so it helps, of course, that you're talking about challenges that came out of the group and not some artificial concepts you test. So that definitely made a difference. Yeah, I would say, and the method itself, I think, the structure. So we promote design thinking. I mean, no, at the end, it's people business. So it was wonderful people that made a difference, and it worked out really well. Can we extrapolate from that? I don't know, but at least this is my learning. It worked this time. It worked really well, I would say. Yeah, sure.
Because we actually talked about this, but you think that when you talk to us who work at the municipality, you're like, oh, you're the reality, so now it's a reality check to go to us. And I was like, no, but I need to check with elderly, check, is it the check with the older adults? We need to go and talk to them. So it's we all think that we're a bit too far away from the end users. But also, I think it's the method again. But it's quite easygoing. You approach people and say, we try to fix something here. We identify the problem. We want to know what you think about it. It's quite easy. It's no one said no to me. Said no, I don't want to talk about this. So I think the method in itself makes it easier. And I'm guessing both for me working at the city of Stockholm, but as well as if you work at the university.
Yeah. Maybe I can also add the transnational aspect. I'm just thinking of it because for me, of course, it made it different when I approached, for instance, the city of Tübingen, when I said, by the way, the city of Stockholm is involved in that endeavor as well. So actually, that's a trademark, right? Especially if it comes to welfare studies. I mean, they often say, okay, we are so different, it's hard to adapt from the Scandinavian welfare state model, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, yeah, but there are ways you can adapt, and either it was the other way around. I mean, during the course of the project, or this design process, I would say, not a project, we paired up more or less. So we had also, so Stockholm and Tübingen with our local teams, we had a variety of meetings, so just the two cities of us, or the two teams, and it was a good back and forth, you know. We had our experiences with your topics in our city, and vice versa, so that helped a lot, and we could bring those people in, and so that kept the dialogue running, I say. But maybe other Oh, sorry, Daniele. No.
Yeah, I agree with him. The fact transnationality is a trademark. When you go to some stakeholder and you tell your story, they look in a certain way. But as soon as you say that this comes from 3 or 4 places in Europe and stay together for 5 days practicing or doing whatever they do, they say, okay, this is an occasion. I can't miss that. Because, of course, it's not a matter that happens every day. So it's really something unique. So if even they were already interested, but as soon as you tell the story that this is something that unifies people from different countries, they immediately realize that it's something. It becomes unmissable because it's unique, of course.
Sorry, Patrick, did you want to come in on this one, or go? Pass you.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think that JRS Romania and the University of Lausanne would have not met in this life if it wasn't for this project, and it's a concrete result of how this alliance can get you to know people outside of your zone, your natural work space, and you meet people from other places, from other universities. You have collaboration that you wouldn't think of happening. And it was a pleasure for us at JRS to have this collaboration through the University of Bucharest, and eventually to meet Patrick and work with him directly. During the workshop, I believe that it was exactly what Christelle did in this graphic, building the bridges, where from our part, an NGO that is mostly concerned in practical field work and everyday interventions in people's lives, had the chance to work with academic, atmosphere, and it was a very beautiful collaboration because we always come with results, or our comments are mostly based on what we meet in our everyday life, and the academics also do that, but in a completely different way. And that was the place where theory and practice had a very, very beautiful, let's say, collaboration, and we were able to get a result much more, let's say, concrete than if one or the other was working on this project. So we kind of completed each other on the implementation of this workshop, and I believe that's something that you cannot meet in national level or other kinds of projects that do not include an alliance of people.
Thanks so much. It's really interesting, this whole co-ideation piece, because it does take time and space, and that's often the two things that you don't typically have a lot of. And so the Open Labs, I think, have tried to do that, given that space to bring in partners from the early stages and sort of try and co-ideate the process so that it really is, the outcomes are then much more impactful. I don't know. I mean, there's other Open Lab people in the room. They might want to chip in as well to some of these thoughts. David, I'll just come to you.
David Boveda from Madrid. Thinking about the collaborations, I was wondering, so I can see that, Open Labs, but other structures also facilitate the academics and researchers collaborate. And many projects are researchers in one place with stakeholders from one place. But now I'm wondering, how can we get stakeholders or communities from different places or end users from different sites to at least engage with each other? I don't know, collaborate, but get to know each other or get to know that they're doing parallel work. Because in our project, that's been, in other projects, it's always been a challenge. And it's something that we haven't, the barriers are there, very difficult to succeed. I mean, including the linguistic barrier, which is a barrier to take into consideration, no? So.
Yeah, I would thank you for the question, because just the other day I was at the University of Babeș-Bolyai in Cluj-Napoca, and I was the only person on the conference list that didn't have a PhD in front of his name, and exactly the same question was asked, like, what is, let's say, a practitioner from civil society is doing in an academic conference, even though that I came with my own experience. And so that's not the subject, but it was the conclusion was we have to do let's say effort from both sides. So when I saw a conference that was academic and I had something to say, even though it wasn't a fully academic approach, I felt that the subject is important for us to represent it, and we went there, and through that, let's say, initiative, we were able to connect and communicate and, let's say, work on future plans together. At the other hand, I think also the academia needs to do a little bit of effort for not all the research to be, let's say, theoretical based, and what we can find from literature and so on and so forth. And if I'm looking to specifically address a specific subject, exactly how we did in this collaboration, Syrian refugees. Who is dealing with Syrian refugees in Bucharest? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3 organizations. Let's go and communicate with them. Let's connect with them directly. Let them bring their experience to the table so we can have a better collaboration. So I think it's an effort that should be done from both parties, so we can exactly do what we just did in this initiative to get a different perspective. One is from the field, and the other is from the academic milieu.
If I can briefly, so the context of my project is based on the Faro Convention. I know there is an Open Lab Faro Convention. So what is the meaning of heritage for communities and social, for the society? And the idea is to try to create modules or the modules that you have in the toolkit, not for refugees, but with refugees. So we really, from the very beginning, included the local communities in order to understand what is meaningful for them. And I do speak Arabic, so of course the relationship with the Syrian refugees is different, but still colonialism is still, somewhere, and global north versus, so we have to be very careful about that. And the idea is not to try to create something saying we will impose, we offer you that because we know better than you. My own research has developed and changed through the collaboration with the communities. And for me personally, it really changed the way I see my own work, and this is what is today meaningful for my academic research.
Yeah, David, yeah, thanks for the question. I think as you know, you need opportunities, and actually you need a space. I mean, in Tübingen, that helped, of course, within the society there, the civil society, that we, no, wrong direction. Oh, stupid. Here we go. Sorry, you get all shocked. Here. So we operate that Lebensphasenhaus for 12 years now, and we do this together with the civil society, with NGOs, and it's open for 12 years now, every Friday without appointment, and we do this together with senior citizens out of the city, which we trained over the years, and it's their house. We are there in the background, and of course we also guide, and it's a demonstration house for aging in place, you know, so it's about sensitizing how would I want to live when I age, or we display, of course, all kind of inclusive instruments and stuff like that. So, and so we've got actually a pretty strong community there, and we are always able to attract those people then to come with us on a delegation trip to beautiful Stockholm, for instance. That helps, of course, you know, and then you have the users right with you, for instance. But yeah, you need the opportunities and you need the space, really the space, a room or where you can meet on a regular basis, and it's not the virtual world, it has to be a concrete place, I would say. And you need money, travel money, because this is always where it ends, right? Because without the workshop in Stockholm, that wouldn't have worked at all, I would say. So, to be honest, yeah.
Okay. Anything else from the room? Just keeping my eye on hands. I mean, do feel free to pitch in at any point. I mean, we've covered quite a lot of topics there, and I think this issue of valuing the expertise and experience of different actors, not just the people that are within the academy, is really important. And I think that is an issue that is quite pervasive across a lot of participatory research as well. You know, you do get, and you know, I see it, very kind of siloed views of what it is to be an expert in an academic sense. And trying to punch through that and acknowledge different sorts of experience and expertise at the table is so important, I think, to do this. So that's I'm glad that we moved on to that there through David's question. I just want to talk a little bit about the kind of tangible benefits for. I mean, it's great that we've got kind of representatives from the community side here or the partner side. Those tangible benefits from these open lab projects, and I suppose a bit of this is thinking also about legacy. So, you know, with any grant fund, there's always the potential that the funding then stops, and you're thinking, well, how do we sustain things, and how do the partners get supported, and these sorts of difficult issues. What might be those tangible benefits that have come out, or outcomes that you feel, you know, has provided a kind of platform to continue the work? Let's suppose the money stopped tomorrow. What could you do still in the space? What kind of outcomes have there been? It might have been different ways of thinking, different partnerships that could explore other kinds of sources of funding or whatever it might be. But are there examples that you might want to? Yeah, Johanna, you've got to go first.
So I could share from the Stockholm work. We actually came up with 4 prototypes, and since being in this CIVIS project gave a high visibility to the project, and it gave us a lot of status and a lot of interest from departments that otherwise would have not been so easy to get them engaged. Now they're showing an interest in, they're actually asking us, can we participate in the next iteration from the traffic office, which is quite hard to get them to join any meetings. So I would say it's been very important for us, but also within my own district. So we're actually moving on, and we're going to test a few of our prototypes, and we're going into a next iteration within the design thinking process. So this has been really highlighting our question of challenges of aging, and we're also an age-friendly city, so it's been promoting our work. So we got momentum in this question. So we actually have very much going on after this project, thanks to this project, I would say.
Tangible result in two different contexts. First, I mean, we have met other people from other open labs, and we're thinking to build something together and to apply, for example, for an ERC together. So this is in order to be more sustainable and to have real team, to have PhDs, to have postdoc, and to secure the project for the next years, which is also linked to the other context. It's a lot of migrants and Syrian refugees today will be IDPs tomorrow. And the sustainability issue here is how can we keep on following the people and helping the people when they will be back in Syria. So here the idea was to create micro-credential inside the university, and we work now together with the University of Lausanne and the University of Geneva in order to offer a certification with micro-credential for the refugees following our courses in refugee camps, and to be able to still offer this micro-credential system from the University of Lausanne, then together with the University of Damascus. So all these ideas, all this reflection also on the needs of the Syrian refugees said, we are following this course, but we need something when we be back to Syria to say, we have studied, because you have to imagine that it has been 15 years for most of the Syrian refugees being in Azraq camp or Za'atari, for example, in Jordan. And so there is no higher education possibility in refugee camp. And then if you offer them something, they have to be able to show that they have learned something when they come back to Syria. And this is why micro-credential is so important. But this is something that has risen during the open labs. And thanks to the visibility of the project, our colleague from the Central Services, and here Pascal is in the room, thank you very much, but we're able to understand this need and try to work together to offer micro-credential at the university. So I think this is the most important and the most tangible result that we got.
Yeah, for us the result is much less tangible. In a sense, this has to do with the emotional part of the participants, because music, like many performing arts, is like a firework. Once you fire it, you look, it's beautiful, it's amazing, but then it is gone. So the point is that I'm sure that the participants of this event had something with them. The students, because another very important point of our project was that it was it was all involving students. So we brought students abroad, stay together, make a union, and put their energy to make a show for other people. And so the experience they lived will remain with them forever. The fact is that it remains with them. And once, it cannot be exported. That's the point of this project. And since it mostly relies on traveling, if no fund will arrive, no travel can be done. And so in our case, the situation is less easily extended. Okay, there are European calls for this kind of collaboration. So of course, we can think at other kind of, but the essence is that we need money. That's the point. Because every traveling requires money. Renting a theater for a performance requires money. Renting people for being there and assisting patients during the spectacle requires money. And so the point is that without a proper funding, this kind of project cannot be replicated.
Yeah, it's quite project specific, so isn't it? Anyone else like to chip in? Any thoughts from our other Open Lab colleagues? I mean, one thing that's been I've been thinking about, because you're aware of each other's projects before this session, but not necessarily maybe in depth. Is that fair to say? Yeah. So as I've been sitting here, and I don't want to put you on the spot because this isn't, this is just a kind of spontaneous question, but are there links to explore between the projects? Because most obviously, your orchestra was performing for people with dementia, and then you're interested in aging, and I don't, maybe a bit more tenuous to think how it might work with the refugee project, but not impossible. Are there ways that you think maybe you could collaborate together? And if so, is this kind of session useful, not in front of everybody, but actually to bring the Open Lab projects together in some kind of forum to explore that?
No, absolutely. Thank you. I mean, that's a brilliant idea, Ken. I mean, listening to Daniele, it's exactly what happened in my brain, because I was thinking, yeah, I mean, we've got this group, we've got this choir, the theater group, with people with cognitive impairments, with dementia. And we've got dementia support, so that's an NGO in our state we had with us. So Anja was with us in Stockholm. So she definitely would be very interested in this kind of projects. And so I definitely will tell her about it. And this is exactly when open innovation and transfer of knowledge occurs, during those sessions. And because otherwise, as you mentioned before, we never would have known and heard from each other. So yeah, I see potential, and of course the same here with the work, because that's another common issue we all have to face, and we should deal with in this wonderful way you just mentioned before. So I think, again, also there are bridges I can see, yeah.
Well, the common future is well-being, right? So we all do something in order to the society to benefit from what we can think about in the ivory tower, as you said before. But music, yeah, of course, we can imagine a workshop of music with Syrian refugees here or anywhere else. And of course, health issues and dementia is also present. So those meetings are always, useful in order to connect, to know about the possibilities of collaboration and.
Yeah, maybe that's something that we take away as an Open Lab group and have a think about as well. How to forge those potential synergies between different projects. Right, let me just keep an eye on the time. So we've got maybe a few minutes left. Anything else from the room? I'm always conscious to leaving a lot of time for the audience, but you've all obviously had too much to eat and drink. You're all sleepy. Too much protein. Too much protein in our diets. Okay, Robin, I'll come round here.
Thank you all for sharing all this. You spoke already about the added value of having this transnational collaboration. And things that I think I, as an Open Lab coordinator, did not think about. But I want to ask you about the challenges. Because all these projects, you could do it only on your own, maybe, or at least in your city, it might be much easier. So you said you shared the added value of doing that. But what are the difficulties? Maybe there are things that we did not think about, and how did you overcome them? If you think about one particular difficulty.
Yeah. You want to? Okay. Yeah. No, of course. I mean, in the beginning, transaction costs are high. So you need to invest. You need to invest in travel costs. You need to have a coordinator. Without coordinated structure, wonderful Christelle. I mean, otherwise it does not work. So you need the structure. And in the beginning, that's of course transaction costs are high. But I would say when it comes to innovation. it's the much more effective and probably the more efficient way of doing it, involving all kind of different knowledge bases, experiences, transnational experiences, the users, all kind of, and of course it's a messy concept, a lot of different organizations, people, and you need to find a language, cultural aspects and all that. So of course it's not your comfort zone, but I'm pretty sure it's worth it. But you need a coordinator, you need someone structuring, and those bridges Ken just mentioned, I mean, they don't occur out of nothing. You have to build them. So someone has to connect the dots. So there need to be some coordinators, some staff members that put this structure into life, and that was important. And for us, it was the combination of Christelle, Mareike, and the others with Emma that forced us, follow the structure, the double diamond. So we see each other in 3 weeks again. Be prepared, conduct your interviews, blah, blah, blah. So do your homework. No, but you need someone that constantly keeps up the momentum, because otherwise it's just, you need structure. I mean, and that's definitely something which we all have to keep in mind. That is so important. And then it might even work in the future without that, because we met as cities or as teams, and then things can start from there. But the beginning, of course, you need someone who has to coordinate.
And I could also add that actually I think that is one of my lessons learned, is that the structure that we use for our project with different projects running around in Europe and with common workshops worked really well. And I'm thinking that if I do something in the city of Stockholm, I could do the same way. So I understand that you want to know more about the challenges, and we talked about it before lunch because we knew the question would come. We're like, but actually the method in itself helps us with those challenges. So, and we had, at our last workshop, we talked about it, like thinking back, reflecting on the process. And actually the only thing that came up was we need to meet in person more often. That was actually it.
Yeah, for me, the main challenge was pairing this idea of young musicians playing together for unusual audiences. Because it was, when you make music, you are on the stage, you think that you have to play what you have to play, the audience listens, and hopefully at the end they claps. And that's the story. In these realities, the story was slightly different, because with impaired people, their reaction could have been a little bit unpredictable. They can start dancing or start screaming, because their way of reacting to emotions it's different. And so I was a little bit scared about pairing a young orchestra with this reality. I was not sure it would have been something working. And at the end it worked. Because, okay, we had these preliminary lessons, these classes taken by our colleagues from Athens. She's a musicotherapist, and so she trained the orchestra a little bit by saying, okay, this may happen. And indeed it happened, not many times, but there were quite some episodes. But at the end, the students, the guys, the kids, felt this as a participation from the audience. So something that could have been disappointing for a normal musician, in this case, it has been transformed in an interpersonal interaction. And so this challenge turned into a resource that in a common context would not have materialized simply.
Yeah, following on that, one of the challenges that when you work with human beings, you have to learn adaptability. So you can have a schedule, you can have an agenda, and think, okay, this is where we go, but human being is not like working in an archive, obviously. So this is the first thing. And then it's maybe the administrative constraint between one university and another. I mean, Open Lab seems to be something, wow, great and full of possibilities. But then you really have challenges with different way of thinking, different policies between one university and another. And thank you, Christelle, because we have a wonderful coordinator for Open Lab in Lausanne. And without her, I mean, nothing would have been done. And this is also what you said. And the situation is very different from a university and another. And then to make our central services to understand what we do and the way we do and say, okay, you say, I mean, okay, this is how we have to work. We have sometimes some constraints that make really our work difficult. And then the hours that you invest on it because you really believe what you do have meaning, and that's it's not always recognized by the university. This is also something else. I mean, you do it because you want to do it and not because anything else linked to contract hours or anything administrative.
Okay, all good? Oh, there's a question. Okay. Yeah, I was going to go into my wrap-up, but I'll allow you, Marlene, a quick question.
Okay. Thank you very much for your inspiring examples. Just a very general observation and question for you. Many times we develop open labs as a synergy, university and civic society. Often civic society has its own mechanisms, develops open labs, develops social interventions that are very powerful anyway. My question is, who needs more whom? Is it the university that needs more civic society, or civic society that needs a university? Because the universities often offer research, and when we talk about open labs, we say open labs is not research, is social intervention, but often social interventions happen independent of the universities. So it's a conundrum. I would like your key takeaway from this partnership, if you have a kind of a key phrase that would be the motto of your work and the ambassador of your interaction, that would make it quite different to any other social intervention, what would that be? I don't know if it's very difficult to improvise something now, but also as a way to get all this motivation back to the university, because it's a lot of work. Open labs are very energy-driven, and society has, for many projects, found already its own way. For its refugee interventions have been a lot, often without the universities being involved, and very powerful and very meaningful. So this is my question. Thank you very much.
So should I begin? Yeah. So for the city of Stockholm, the collaboration Open Lab in Stockholm is very important. They give courses for professionals, and also we are able to give challenges for the master's students and for the PhD students. So it's very important to us, and it also gives us the courage to address challenging questions in a new way. So I would say, as from the municipality point of view, the Open Lab in Stockholm is very important to us.
Yeah, thank you for this wonderful observation. You are completely right, and I agree. So probably in the beginning, society might not need the ivory tower or someone else analyzing what they're doing, observing, and try to build up theories about this and that. But over the course of an innovation process, be it a social innovation process, I think universities play an important role. I mean, as a trademark, of course, and often providing also structure. And I think that's very important to provide a platform, because all those NGOs are, even if you're not organized, just being a citizen, you're lacking those platforms. You're lacking the public opinion, or you're just in your yeah, we can provide as universities a more integrating perspective, I would say, and yeah, to also be an echo chamber, you know, as society also does it with us, you know, giving feedback, complaining, asking questions. Why didn't you do this? Why don't you research on that? Why don't you offering courses and this and that? And we need that, of course, as a starting point of research and teaching, of course. But also, I think this is what we can give back. We've got the platform, we've got structure, and so I think both. It's important that we have each other, I would say.
Yeah, I would say that absolutely university needs society, because for too many years we were closed on it ourselves. We were, in a sense, self-referential, and this detached university from reality, and was one of the reasons, at least in Italy, why university was somehow badly perceived by the community. So absolutely we need society, but I think that also society needs university, because simply nobody has done anything like what we did with them. So they said in 40 years this is the first time that somebody approaches us and offers us a concert. Why don't music societies, existing music societies, didn't offer a concert to these people? Well, the answer is simple. Because making music, dealing with refugees, dealing with aging, is a business today. The point is that we are not asking for money. We are just exporting what we want because we believe it is a value. So we are offering to the society. And we're not making business on that. So in a sense, I strongly believe that society needs us if we set the things in this way.
2 words, 1 sentence, duty and meaning. I really feel it's my duty as an academic to transfer this knowledge and to share it, and this is what gives meaning to my daily life and work.
I wouldn't try to answer this question in a direct way. I would tell you during our intervention how things developed and how did every party actually benefit from this collaboration. So let's skip the introduction. We arrive at the day that we are contacted and we were supposed to do the community outreach for the workshop that Patrick already has thought through and prepared the resources for, and so on and so forth. And the people that I reached out to they had 2 questions. We go where, and what are we going to do? And the answer was, we go to the University of Bucharest and we are going to do a workshop. Not something that happens very often, that an intervention is actually, the destination is a university, and they will do a workshop there. Somehow, in a way or another, that was not so, let's say, familiar for them. We arrived there, and we start with some of the historical background about Palmyra and the temple that Patrick has beautifully reconstructed, and he had a 3D way of reliving the experience like you're walking through the temple. I would tell you that none of the people that we contacted thought that they would experience something so concrete. One person from the people that I contacted came all the way from Constanța, another city from Romania, just to this event because Palmyra meant something for him. And that shows you, because he lived in Palmyra, his history, his heritage is in Palmyra. And he made this trip. He woke up 4 in the morning to come to the university to just relive something of his lost heritage. And that tells you something that it's not that one needs the other or the other way around. It's just that the bridge should be even more solid. We cannot do, one can't do nothing without the other. Because this intervention, this workshop, without the people who actually participated, it would not have, for who is it addressed for? And the other way around, the civil society interventions don't normally have the resources that universities have, or the information, or the depth of the intervention. It can be sometimes superficial or on a basic level. Whenever a university, let's say, takes responsibility, that intervention becomes more meaningful. So I think we both need each other at the same level, as long as we think together to have an architecture, or for it to be planned by both parties, so the intervention becomes even more and more, has better results and is more concrete.
You know what, I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thank you so much. But before we thank all our speakers, I do want to just promote some of these other resources that you might be interested in. So the Cascade Network, which is a community of practice that's interested in participatory practice. Please email Fanny if you're interested in that. There's a QR code up there for the podcast series that Robin also has been playing a big role in with Crystal and others. So please check that out. And back to this session. So the portraits are, we're downstairs, they're upstairs at the top of the stairs on the way to lunch. Please do check out the 10 portraits of impact. The Veris exhibition is up there as well. It's a lovely exhibition. Please do see it at the coffee break, which is just imminent. And also there's some books from the Voices of Palmyra exhibition. I don't know how many, I don't know if you've got these to give away, but have you got a few of these with you, or? Oh, it's just one. All right. So you can come and don't take this book away, but please flick through it. And also the orchestra at 5:30, which is in the main auditorium. So don't miss that. That's just after the group photo, which is at 5:15. Thank you all so much. Can we give a big clap to all our guests? Daniela, Daniel, Johanna, Patrick, and Wasfi. Thanks to all of you for coming. If you're interested in any of this stuff, please come and speak to us at the breaks or at the rest of the conference. Thanks very much.